Welcome to the Beachside Tech Talk. My name is Ian Utile. I am your host. I'm here with Nigel, Ted, Gary, Dan, and Malachi. This is 1340 KOMY. We are based out of Santa Cruz County here in the Monterey Bay, and looking forward to sharing some tech automation inspiration with all of you today. We have a bit of a different take on technology in the future. We are not dystopic, nor are we ignorantly utopic. I guess we could call our little crew here anti-dystopists. We think things are going to get a little bit better for humanity with all this automation stuff, but we also recognize you have to mitigate some risk. We like to start our programming with talking a bit about the future. And so not only are we live here in the San Francisco Bay Area, and the reach through this AM station is profound due to it being here on the sand, right on the Pacific Ocean. But we're also live broadcasting globally to all the party people out there in the World Wide Web. Thanks for your attention. Let's go ahead and jump in and talk a bit about what we're looking forward to in the future. So let me just invite our East Coast brother. So you are 3 hours ahead of us, Nigel. It is, you're already living in the future. I mean, not as much as Asia. They're 15, 16 hours ahead. They really know what's going to happen before we do. But jump in. Tell us, what are you looking forward to when you think about next week, next month, even hundreds of years from now, when your descendants speak of all your great exploits as the gratitude champion? What are you looking forward to as you think about technology taking off?
What I've done to contribute. Have I used the most of life, the most that I've been given to contribute and utilize what I've been blessed with? I think a simple thing that I've been thinking about for the last couple of weeks actually is we breathe every day, but how many times do we stop to think, I'm breathing? There's actually air coming out of my lungs. We really don't until we're not breathing. And that's unfortunate that it takes not breathing for us to recognize that we are breathing. So what am I looking most forward to? Acknowledging where we are in the present and the opportunity that it represents for us to utilize what we have, or what I have, to the greatest good that serves everyone as best I can. So, yeah.
How about for you, Ted? Why don't you jump in? You're based in the Silicon Valley. You're constantly talking about innovation, the future, how to make things better for all of humanity. And oftentimes you're very thoughtful of how technology can be a benefactor for the things that you work on. What's getting you excited?
What I'm looking forward to in the future?
What's that emotional caffeine for you?
How far in the future do you want me to go? As I'm really looking forward to my cold plunge, but I don't know how that's related to technology. But, you know, it kind of gives my philosophy of technology. What I'm excited about is technology helping us get rid of it, you know, not live lives addicted to screens and touching and typing, but going out doing the stuff that, you know, makes you feel alive in community with others. I mean, you fast forward to further down the line when I have grandkids and great grandkids, you know, and Ian and I guess I'll be like when I'm 110 and Ian's 100, and, you know, and we're both going surfing with your dad, who I guess would be 120 at the time. I want us to sit around and chat on the radio and talk about, educate the younger generation to what homelessness was like. And they'll be asking us questions like, what? You mean people used to not have homes? Yeah, it was really, really bad. And we'll have to show them pictures and take them to the homelessness museum. And we'll have to explain to them what mass incarceration was like. And we'll take them to the Mass Incarceration Museum, which is now like in this beautiful, vibrant community. And we'll introduce someone and they'll say, yeah, my grandfather was mass incarcerated. And I'm like, what was that? Wow, really? Oh, we used to lock everybody up. Wow, that was. So what I'm excited about is technology empowering us to do stuff that really matters, which, is not humanity for the sake of technology, but vice versa. Human flourishing for everyone, not just the elites, but normal folk.
We've been friends for over a decade, and all these years, all the thousands of hours that you and I have done interviews, captured content, never have I heard you talk about the homeless museum because it doesn't exist anymore, or the incarceration museum because it doesn't exist anymore. And what a powerful, powerful vision that is. Imagine a humanity where we have either fully eliminated or at least in some way reduced incarceration and homelessness to the extent that we have to have a museum to try to show future generations what that once was like. Dad, what are your thoughts on that beautiful vision that Ted just shared with us?
Well, I see that technology is touching everything. He talked about a cold plunge. Remind me of just sports. Just recently, actually in the last couple of years, I've been playing with the one wheel, which is a new technology. Skateboard with a big tire in the center of it, and how fun that has been just to get around. All the sports are becoming more extreme, and so are the toys. So technology goes, or new technology going way beyond AI. It's touching everything for our pleasure and our adventure in life. But some of the things that aren't really changing that are really cool too is some of the old school stuff. You got the old cars and even the old surfboards that people are still riding and nose riding. You really don't lose touch of that either. And then the thought of just relationships, marriage, compassion, all those things we still want to embrace as old school because it works, and then my faith, Jesus doesn't change. He's the same yesterday, today, and forever. We believe that he's a real deal. And so his impact, will never be disregarded, of course, with new technology. So there you go.
And how about for you, sweet one, my brother Dan? What are your thoughts on something optimistic you're looking forward to in the future of technology?
Yeah. So I was just thinking yesterday after we had the show that another great thing about the future of AI and Web3 that we're entering into is being related in most of my life with home building and stuff. I had thought about just the automation of smart homes. We're starting to get into an area where you can save money all kinds of ways by putting automation through your house, having it being able to predict when what your day is when you're getting up, when you're going to bed, turning on lights for you at dedicated times so you're not wasting energy, setting your thermostat to a set time to go on and off automatically is not just in AI. You're able to use that even more than just setting a thermometer. You can set times, you can set dates, and advanced security systems that we're coming up with now. The AI is going to be able to go from the ring and door stop cameras. They're going to be able to tell the difference between a passing car and maybe a suspicious person walking around. So as it starts to continually evolve and get better, I think as we progress, we're going to find more and more ways that we can use this into our lives and not even think about it. It's just going to become part of us, like breathing and blinking, our own automated moves that we do without thinking.
And how about for you, son? What are your thoughts as we get ready to go to our commercial break? What are you looking forward to with your young perspective?
Well, you guys are talking a lot about like good things and optimism and stuff like that. And my mind immediately went to things that we get to have in today's world that like have never existed. For me, one of the things I spend most of my time doing is rock climbing. It's the joy of my life. I love it so much. and I've recently finally gotten back into it again, and it's been so amazing. And when I'm in there in the climbing gym, I'm always thinking like, this is crazy that this building exists, that people put this together so that I can go and climb on plastic and try and get higher. It's just like so amazing to think about. That never existed and was never even a concept to be thought about for so long. And I'm just so glad that I get to live in a world like that.
Well, everyone,
We're
we're going to take a break, and we look forward to coming back in just a moment with more on AI.
Still live? Are we still live on the stream?
Well, internet, moving the camera around is kind of fun, but maybe it makes y'all a little motion sick.
I have a question.
Yeah.
No, that
May I ask a question?
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Um,
You're live right now, Ted. So
this is directed to Malachi.
appropriate question.
How much of your rock climbing is inside? I love this insight of a technological innovation that took something that was very difficult and hard to attain because you had to go find a mountain. It was probably much more dangerous. And it made it more democratized and more easily accessible because it's inside. I love that. So how much of your mountain climbing is inside versus outside? Do you ever go out and just, go scale some mountain in Yosemite when your dad's not looking?
Going to climb outdoors is completely different than doing it indoors. Like the way that you climb, the different style. Because outdoor, it's not like someone put this together meticulously. It's a rock or a tree. I love climbing trees. If I see a climbable tree, if you look away for a second, I'm probably over there. Like I mean, that's probably what I imagine little kids were doing a long time ago. You see it.
I was doing that I don't know if I only climbed climbable trees because I have two experiences where I fell pretty high out of a tree.
Ooh. Yeah, see, that's what I'm a little scared. That's why it's so nice indoors, because I can push myself so hard and not have to fall and hurt myself. I mean, I love it so much. I just keep thinking about how, like, it's so crazy that people liked climbing up rocks so much that they made this whole system. And I'm so glad I get to live in the time where this exists.
So you climb trees outdoors, not rocks that often, and you mainly climb rocks or artificial rocks inside. Is that correct, Malachi?
Yeah.
Sweet.
Where's this going?
Man.
Welcome.
Now I want to go climb a tree, but
My name is Ian Utile. I'm here with my 5 co-hosts. We are at 1340 a.m. KOMY, home of Schoolhouse Radio here in the Monterey Bay. We're also streaming live video on the World Wide Web. Back in the day, that was just known as AOL. AOL was the World Wide Web, and the World Wide Web was AOL. You know what's really crazy? And I'm going to turn everybody on and let you guys just jump in randomly. There are entire countries that their internet is only Facebook, or their internet is only this one platform. And so we have total freedom here in America. We can use any of the social media sites, any of the web browsers, any of the pieces of hardware, like an Android or an iPhone or a jailbroken phone. We can use any sort of operating system. We can use Samsung's operating system or Google's or Apple's. We can use a Linux operating system. There's so many options that we have. We can create and cultivate our own newsfeed with our own tweaked version of the truth. We can have different versions of the truth in different places. We have a lot of freedom here in America. Congratulations, Americans. But it's not that way in a lot of places. There's a lot of places where the freedom is limited. So if Facebook is your only pathway on the internet, then that means that whatever Facebook allows you to see in that specific country is what you're going to get. Obviously, there's awareness that places like North Korea don't even have access to information that's not highly controlled. And that's even the case for many other major countries, not just, poor developing nations, but also just big, huge countries that are run with a different mentality than what we have. So on AI, there's two things around AI's present impact right now. So one is AI is allowing people to find out the truth, right? Like you can go on to ChatGPT, DeepSeek, Grok, Gemini, or the likes, and you can say, is this true? Even on X.com, formerly Twitter, if something's posted that's not true, people can put community notes and then the AI will verify that is not true. It's funny, Elon Musk bought Twitter and from time to time, and changed the name to X. From time to time, he'll post stuff and then his own system will be like, that's a lie, which is, it's kind of an interesting thing. On the other hand, AI could be used to create my voice. And it could send a voice message to my parents and say, I'm in desperate need, send me money right now. It could create my voice and send a message to my son and say, hey, or go here, do this, do that. And all of a sudden he's on a journey, not because I told him to, because AI did. So there is positives of the impact of artificial intelligence upon the information that we gather. And there are definitely risks we have to mitigate. So I'm just going to open it up. Anybody wants to jump in and share your thoughts?
This really sparked my attention. I knew that was coming. Do you have more concrete examples that you could share with me about like what you just shared, this risk of someone cloning your voice and doing the old, scam? I mean, I had friends that were really victimized by the previous scams, just, text and paper and emails and stuff like that. But the voice one, can you, that sparked my attention. Can you give a concrete example of something that's happening or that you read about? Or
That's getting pretty like action movie type stuff right there, making me think of Mission Impossible type things.
Does anybody else want to jump in and answer Ted's question? Dan, Nigel, you guys have any information that you're aware of? If not, then I'll jump in.
Well, there's been plenty. There's been a number of examples. I can't think of one super specific, but that is definitely an angle that people play. I think that anything that allows us to distort, distract, or obstruct information, make it non-transparent. And this is going to sound however, but that's almost all of marketing. And I'll give you the example that I think about. Like, if you didn't ask for something and something pops into your feed, you should automatically be suspicious. I mean, I know that might be conspiracy theorists, but that's what I believe, because there's a bigger likelihood of you not focusing on the intent that you had initially. So as far as your voice being cloned, it's just another way of us reminding us that we need to protect the data that we have, because AI by itself isn't anything without the data. So when we speak and we see that, in fact, I just saw Professor Tim posted an article about them using our chat functions to train AIs. So as much as we might think that what we're saying might be encrypted or what have you, I think there's access that's available to those things. And how are we training these AIs with the stuff that we're saying, whether it be our words that we type or a voice that we use? And whenever there's opportunity, people are going to take it and they're going to utilize it. I mean, the technology itself is nothing short of spectacular when you think that you can have a podcast that you've created, and let's say you misspoke or it didn't catch a word, and you can train the product. I think I'm thinking about Descript, and you can just type the change that you want and it'll replace it in the audio itself. So it's not far-fetched for you to believe that someone can take, snippets of your voice and then turn it into something that you can socially engineer into a scam. Because you think about, even in terms of passwords, most people, many people think about hacking, like, oh, say hack my password. Half the time people give away the password. I worked for a bank for decades, and one of the things we would do is audits, and all you would need to do is find someone with a sticky note on the top of their monitor that showed, here's my password, or underneath their computer. And we would give people infractions for that. It's no different. We give away information all the time without thinking about it. It's social engineering. So those instances exist and people should beware.
Dad, what are your thoughts on this?
Hey, so first of all, you're right that we are blessed here in America. We have so many choices. choose from. But there's always the skinny option, and people, especially broken third world countries with kind of broken English, when they get on the phone, you have to beware because they're always scamming and doing something dishonest to take whatever they can from other people. So, I mean, that's always going to happen, no matter whatever you're doing, whether it's AI or whether it's old school. There's people out there that make a living by scamming, but that shouldn't prevent us. We shouldn't walk in fear either. To be able to still utilize our freedom and benefit from it.
Danny, what are your thoughts?
My thoughts are, I still think that we need to lean into having the correct oversight. Like in the new Web3 and AI world that we're in right now, I think of it as a person maybe being in an adolescence. It's so new. There's so much there. There's so much to use. But then there is the other side of it, because of decentralization and things, that there's not a law-made oversight system on the AI, and so it leaves room for nefarious acts to be done. I just saw something yesterday on Reddit's platform that Anthropic, which is Claude's AI system, that Reddit is actually suing them right now because of they have over 100,000 times that Anthropic has gone into their system and has scraped their information. In other words, the replies and the sentiment values that are coming through on any particular subject matter. And then they scrape the system and then use that into their AI. Well, particularly for Reddit right now, they are suing because they are giving Google, and it's Google and I think it's Microsoft, they have given them the license. So their system is being paid for that information. And then, of course, like I was just saying, Anthropic had come in and scraped that information. They've been given a warning to stop doing that. And from what I can see through freelancer.com was my source information, that they had done it again. So that's the type of thing that, we want to be sort of careful with. And I hope that we're really relying on everyone's good faith standards to, operate with moral good ethics, and hopefully it works out good.
Son, how about for you? What are your thoughts on this topic?
I think there's a lot of things right now that I could say in fear. Like, I could mention plenty of things, but although it's easy to say that AI has a large potential to do bad things, or that people will do bad things in trying to be the first, trying to win the race, kind of like the Cold War, but instead this time it's with AI. And I think my thoughts are that I just hope that we can decide to unite together and however we do this. And I think that I just want to live in a way where instead of being in fear, I just decide not to, because life is better that way.
And with that, we're going to head to our next commercial break. Again, this is Ian Utile, your host of Beachside Tech Talk at 1340 AM, KOMY. We'll be back again soon.
I have a question for Ian offline, just for our online here. No, off radio. Shoot, now we need new language. We're off radio. We are online.
We're on Ted.
Ian.
Yes, my friend.
How are we going to solve this is a really, really serious issue. It's kind of why we build Attention Live, to solve this issue. Security, authenticity. This is going to be major. Like, I just got a text trying to tell me I have an outstanding ticket. And, I didn't fall for it. But it did make me think I thought I paid my ticket. Maybe I didn't. But man, it's going to be Ian Utile. It's going to come up with a voice message that looks just like him, undistinguished from reality. And it's going to say, Ted, man, I really need a favor. How are we going to mitigate that, Ian? We need a blockchain that secures authenticity.
They will figure it
It's
out.
unhackable.
Put a node into the system that will stop that type of action from happening. I've gotten the same things recently, a bunch of text on, I did not pay my fare going through the,
It's a lie.
Fast track.
the fast track going up to San Francisco. And I'm thinking to myself, I don't even go into that lane.
Yeah, I've seen those too, and I don't even have, or I just got my license, and I've had it for multiple years. I'm like, dude, at least try and like find out my age or something first.
You know, it stands out. You know, and whoever will pick up on it, people do.
There's still a feeling of anxiety that you get when you look at something and say, hey, you know, you didn't pay. I'm going to take your license away if you don't pay this thing. You're like, wait, what?
You learn from experience just to kind of pass that up because, sometimes you get now. Because then you know that they think of things. That's what they're doing. It's meaning. It's a vocation.
If they could only just use those talents for good.
They can.
But then
They
there would never be any more superhero movies.
There'll always be superhero movies. I think that ultimately what we need more of is people to be courageous like Ted was when we started the show and to share a vision of something that we've never thought of. My whole life, I've never once thought of a homeless museum. I've never thought of a museum for in the incarcerated. That's what humanity needs. Humanity needs to wrap their head around a better future. A better future for humanity. So we're going to jump into blockchain, which is pretty easy to talk about those things. So internet, we're going live again.
We've been live.
Welcome to Beachside Tech Talk. This is Ian Utile, your host, here with my 5 co-hosts. We are at 1340 AM KOMY, home of Schoolhouse Radio in the Santa Cruz County. This is our segment where we talk about the present glory and righteousness of all things cryptography. Now, keep in mind, cryptography was a weapon of mass destruction in World War II. Cryptography was talked about in the very first Mission Impossible movie back in 1996. That's what Luther wanted. He wanted a cryptographic computer that had this, that, and the other thing, and he wanted to make sure he could keep it when he was done doing all of his hacking goodness. Cryptography has transformed everything, and it's just getting started. So if I had to talk about the overall Web3 industry, blockchain, crypto, DeFi, metaverse, this whole catch-all of all things decentralized, I would say we're like somewhere in the first or second trimester. The baby's just being formed in the womb. We have no idea how extensive this automation is going to be. It will remove middlemen. Not good for middlemen, but good for us as individuals, good for our families, good for governments. It will make a transformative situation for us when it comes to saving money, saving time, getting things done quickly. It will make things immutable and trustworthy. When you talk about most of the risks around AI, most of those risks can be mitigated just with the ability of having blockchain distributed ledgers. And so I started 2 events at Twitter's headquarters in 2017. I started the future of AI and the future of blockchain. And the reason why I did both at the same time, because I had all these friends that were in AI and all these friends that were in blockchain, and they didn't really talk together. They didn't really see that they were both important. They were kind of on their thing. I said, no, you need AI as the interface for humans to talk with or chat with. You need blockchain as the kind of anchor baseline to hold all this together and keep it all accountable. So when we think about humanity, Ted, when we opened up, you had such a beautiful picture that you shared with us. You shared this thought that in the future, there will be a homeless museum, a museum of the incarcerated. And the thought was, it doesn't exist anymore. When you think about the impact of what's happening with blockchain, not what could be, but what is, what are some things right now that have you excited? I'm going to Utile.
Well, blockchain. I'm excited about integrity, honesty, ownership. You kind of got me thinking that again about these scams that, I mean, at least for me and for us, I think at least those of us around the table, they're kind of, like they don't really have, they're not going to kill us. We're not super afraid of them. But I had friends who were really hurt, like by these simple email scams. And email was a technology, and now someone could pretend to say something, and you give us a few $1,000s and we've got 1 million that we're going to send from Africa in this story, and someone's not used to the ease at which someone can reach out and manipulate them, and they're taken for it. And now the technology tools, this arm race, and the technology tools to fool people are getting better and better. I'm excited about blockchain because it could be the standard that, is like, just makes that all a moot point. If it's not on the blockchain, if it is on the blockchain, it's totally verifiable about who it's coming from, if it's the real person or not. And if it's not on the blockchain, you just don't trust it at all. So I'm excited about that. I want you to talk more about how that's going to happen, though. Ian, you got my curiosity. I'm excited about technology allowing me to hear more from Ian. That's what I'm really excited about.
Well, I hate to disappoint you. You're going to hear from me. I'm going to piggyback off of what you said. I thought that was such a fantastic vision you shared.
Well, I disagree with you. You're not disappointing me. You actually upgraded it.
Comedian. Okay. So not only are you making amazing vision predictions, but you're also adding the comedy. But to piggyback off of what you said, I think that's a fantastic vision. I think that if we look at what the technology is as opposed to what it could be used for, because anything could be used for good or it could be used for not good. It could be helpful or not helpful. I just think that we need to find more ways for it to be helpful and drown out the noise of the other things that's not, and regulate it as we need to. And maybe even beyond regulating, just call it out. I think that we would be more likely to do better if we just set boundaries as to what we would allow. So I'm going to wrap this up by saying this. I think my son asked me this question months back. He said, Dad, why do people do bad things? Why do we do bad things to each other? And I said, because we stop seeing God in each other. And that is where I think the rubber meets the road in terms of what I mean by setting boundaries. If we just simply don't accept certain behavior, just say, no, that's a no for me. Not about condemning, not about judging, but just that's a no for me. That's not helpful. That's a no for me. It resonates with that same kind of feeling. You're not gonna curse your neighbor if you see, even if they did something bad, if you see God in them. You're not going to be mean to them. You're just not going to do certain things. And I think the more we lean into the good, so that the volume becomes so you can't hear anything else, I just think the better it's going to become. And that's not being ignorant. It's just being more focused and deliberate about our actions. And I'll leave it there.
The gratitude champion right there.
That's the gratitude champion.
I am so grateful for that.
So the 3 safest places in the world are Tokyo, Singapore, and my home. I'm throwing my home in there because I think my home is very safe for my 3 boys and my wife. But the reason why Tokyo and Singapore are the safest for 2 opposite reasons. So I want to go to you, Malachi, but I want to give you this thought first. The reason why Tokyo is so safe is because of the Japanese code of honor. If anybody does anything, if they violate a person, whether through violence, fighting or rape, if they violate someone by theft or deception, if they do anything, the dishonor it brings upon the family gets them disowned, or potentially they're expected to commit suicide. So people don't violate, they don't steal, they don't rob, they don't murder, they don't do these types of things by and large, of course, there's gangs and gangsters and bad people, but by and large, Japan, and especially Tokyo, is known as the safest city in the world because of the code of honor. Now, Singapore's different than that. Singapore, the reason why why it's so safe there, a beautiful woman can walk through a dark alley at 3:30 in the morning in some random place and never be worried. You can set your wallet down. You can set your keys down. You can leave your door open. You can leave your passwords on exposed. And the reason, not that you don't want to do those things, but the reason for that is the consequences are so heavy. When I flew into Singapore, and this is going to blow minds for everyone in Santa Cruz County, everyone in Santa Cruz, all the stoners out there, get ready to have your mind blown. They said on the plane, we're about to enter Singapore. Marijuana, cannabis is an illegal substance, and the consequence is the death penalty. If you have any of those little gummies, if you got one of them vape pens, we suggest you don't enter the country because they will kill you. I thought to myself, oh my God, people in Santa Cruz, do they know that this is the rule here? But it's not just that. If you spit, it's a $500 fine the first time. If you don't wash your hands in the bathroom, yes, they have cameras in the bathroom in Singapore. It's a $500 fee the first time. If you have second fees or third fees, they get real crazy. Like they will throw you in jail. They will ruin your life. So Singapore has incredible safety because of laws and consequences that are done by the government. Tokyo has incredible safety because of honor and consequences that are done by the family. When we think about blockchain technology, and you think about you being a 16-year-old, and you think about a lot of people your age, son, are prone to doing naughty things, and you think about, well, does my generation care about honor? Does my generation care about the things that our parents will do? Or does my generation, would they benefit from a little bit of, consequences because there's no secrets, no privacy, no, everything's exposed is known. Now, of course, there's a balance. Like as an American, we want total privacy and anonymity and leave me alone and don't get my business. I'm a libertarian. But on the other hand, we want a safe society for especially our most vulnerable. So what are your thoughts on this before we go to our next commercial?
I think all of
break?
this talk kind of just brings up the entire thought of culture. It's so crazy to me sometimes when you come back and tell me stories like that of Singapore. Like, it's so drastically different than here in Santa Cruz. The way that people are so different here compared to so many other places in the world and completely unknowing of it. Like, I bet most people in America have no idea that Tokyo is called the safest country in the world, or that it's that because of this culture of kind of pushing anybody down if they do something wrong. It's so much different than the way it is here in America. And I think that although it's always a pendulum swing of how do you want to go in your culture and what are you aiming to create, I think that freedom is always important, but people still want to be safe. And so we should just try and decide as a culture, where do we want our pendulum to swing and how are we going to get there in the best way possible?
Is this the
Well,
part
my
of the
friends,
show to ask
I'll
people
be
to
back
talk? Or
again.
we just
We're about ready
jump
to
in?
go to commercial break. And so this is our last segment coming up where we talk about stories, history, the past, things that inspire us. We'll be back in just a moment.
I had a question.
All right, Internet. It's nice to see so many of you tuning in. We are here on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and X. And so, Ted and Nigel, any thoughts for all of our friends on the internet? What do you think what are your thoughts when you think about communicating through the radio, right? You guys call into the radio station. We have 1 million or so people that we broadcast to. And then we broadcast to the internet. And of course, there's live viewers, and then there's those that watch within the next hour, day, or of course, our great grandkids are going to be so interested in what we have to say. Maybe not. What do you guys think?
I think the radio has always been a great option for, I remember driving when before working remotely, many, many decades ago, but driving home and listening to my favorite radio show or listening to a radio show in the morning, getting ready. I think that those things have become synonymous with culture on some level. I think the internet has provided alternative options, but the fact that it's not so, obviously we have the video attached to this, but for the most part, radio it's passive. You can do it. You can listen to it while you're working out. You can listen to it while you're doing other things, cooking, etc. So I think it creates a nice option for people to get information, and particularly locally. I think that's such a huge thing, because I feel like in some ways we're losing touch with the local essence of what's going on. I think AI can bring some of that back with pulling in people's opinions. But yeah, I love the radio. Ted?
I'm bullish on radio. I think, there's been.
I'm going live again, friends.
I'm bullish. That's it. Bullish on AM local radio. Yeah, baby.
Welcome to Beachside Tech Talk at 1340 AM KOMY, home of Schoolhouse Radio. We're here in the Santa Cruz County, and my name is Ian Utile. I am your host for this daily show, and I'm here with 5 people I love: my father, Gary; my brother, Dan; my son, Malachi; and 2 of my business partners, Nigel and Ted. This is the portion of the hour where we talk a bit about history and the past, stories that inspire. And so I sometimes just think to myself, well, the one that knows the most stories is not necessarily the oldest man in the room, but it's my older brother. No one has told me more stories than my brother, Dan. No one has memorized more information from documentaries of all flavors than my brother, Dan. So, Dan, tell us a story that inspires. Tell us something that is on your mind.
Okay, thanks for that. That was a little bit of a big fluff on the feathers there. My storytelling abilities are, to me, meager at best. I kind of take it in stride. I think that the best story to tell is your own, and how you are hopefully encouraged to do better always. As far as myself, I just feel very grateful and blessed to live the life that I do, live in the area that I live in, and have the family and the generous relationships that I'm able to build in this particular community. The history also of our technology is what we're really here to talk about, and I think that it's just growing in leaps and bounds. From just the calculators we were talking about the other day, GPS systems that we use, and our cell phones that we do, tablets are. How can we put our hands and fingers onto these glass devices that are just helping us as we continuously move forward? My view and my thought is, I hope that we all move forward with positivity of helping each other. Story is a great thing to do, but I think the response that you get from that story is probably you're trying to reach someone with an idea that's happened with you, and your delivery is pretty much how it's going to be received. So the attention that you get and the response of the stories is to know if you said the right things or not. But to end on that, I just encourage everyone to rise with your days, start well, take a smile, love your neighbors, and get out and do better.
How about for you, Dad? What do you think about when you think about the past that inspires you? What type of stories do you meditate on? Do you tell? And how do you fill your tank with new stories? How do you keep the well wet and not dry with new things to inspire, not just in what's happening or what could happen, but what has already happened?
All right. I want to talk a little bit about marriage, because that's a big story in my life. I've been married for 50 years, going on 51. my wife and I, Kim, made our vows, and we are planning on growing old together. We are actually. We happen to hold. It's continuing to be infinite. Sickness and health. Both of us are wearing out and getting older, and just walking with that and changing our ways and finding ways that we can address different things that happen and how we're becoming, weaker. No one dies in good health. So it's just something we have to embrace. Also, financial, we have never lived beyond our means. That has been a blessing to us. We're in a position now where we can also still not only manage to stay in our home, but give to others that are in need. So that is probably one of the biggest accomplishments, and we just have a lot of memories in doing that. We try to make it not a struggle, of course. We want to make it a fun adventure, which we do, and we mix things up, going places, and from going out to dinner to walking the dog to tickling, or just deciding on things we do around the house. Our stories are just accumulating.
I remember growing up and being a carpenter with my dad. So here's a story. And he would say inappropriate things to me on the job site. And I ain't just talking about, all right, son, you have no skills. You're not even a bad apprentice yet. So move that pile of wood over there and put it back. All right, dig a hole, fill it up. No, my dad, he would tell me how he was going to go home and wrestle with my mom, except he would, say in a way that made me feel a little jabbed, and I quit. I'm never working for you, doing that is inappropriate. Stories are supposed to remind us of humanity, right? So for all the fathers and grandfathers out there that are chuckling and laughing and thinking about, oh, that's funny, he said that to his son. It is funny. It is funny to be lighthearted about things. It is funny to, not take life so seriously or be so hidden or so private. It is important to find ways to keep life and communication engaging. And so many of my stories that I think about that inspire me are not just from documentaries or fictional stories or historical stories or presidents or athletes. So many of my stories are stories that I've experienced with my parents, that I've experienced with my father specifically, and stories being a father now and experiencing things with my children and all the seasons that I've had with you, Malachi, over the last 16 plus years, and your brother Kenton and now Nathan, being 12 and 8 years old. So son, what is a story that comes to mind for you that inspires you and gives you something that's energized? And whether it ties into technology or not is not super significant. This is Beachside Tech Talk, but we have plenty of room to talk about things that are outside the realm of technology. So what are your thoughts, son?
I think that not a specific story exactly comes to mind, but the larger concept of humanity that you were mentioning, it just fills my bucket, as my second grade teacher would say. Fill everybody else's bucket. That's one of the stories actually. It makes me happy. But recently I've become much more close with you in my life. And I've loved listening to the funny stories that you say. Like this morning you said a hilarious story about you and your friend pulling each other's underwear up and give each other wedgies. And it was just so funny.
The ultimate wedgie story. It doesn't really get better than that one. I hope that Eric Wood is listening and watching our podcast because he or his wife, Mandy, or their kids, they know exactly what kind of story I'm talking about.
Yes. Moments like that are what make life so much fun. Just getting to laugh. I feel like it's easy to get caught up in all the negative things throughout life, but the moments I get to just enjoy and just fall out and laughing, those are the best moments in life. And I feel like that's something that people just need to enjoy more. Like, look for the happy things. And I get that can be kind of annoying to hear sometimes, but it's what I've loved. I love getting to just be happy.
Nigel, what comes to mind for you as we get toward the top of the hour?
I think just hearing you talk about stories, it makes me think about just sharing, especially when you're younger. Well, you're always going to be younger than your parents, but sharing stories that remind you that your parents too were your age at one point, and they've had the experience that you have, and just having a glimpse into what their experience might have been like, and just having that focus and attention on a story during that time period, I think is just tremendous. And it's the times that I find are the most grateful. And it doesn't matter what the story is, it's just having that opportunity. So I'll leave it there.
Ted, how about for you?
The story I'm thinking about, Dublin's a beautiful city. It's a tourist attraction. Everyone likes to go there, but people don't realize that.
Not for Ted. Okay, try again, Ted.
Can you hear me? Am I unmuted?
Yeah. It was all me. I'm the one that made the mistake.
I read a book called God and Guinness. It's about the story of the Guinness family and Guinness beer, and Dublin now is a gorgeous, beautiful city, and it's a tourist attraction. And I mean, they're facing their own challenges, but it's beautiful, And people don't realize that it wasn't that long ago when it was like Calcutta, just horrible living conditions. And it was what's happening in Oakland and San Francisco and in LA right now. It was their equivalent of it. And it's very similar, industrial revolution and all this disruption, and people were living in horrible conditions. And it was the story of the Guinness family and their beer and their innovations and how they took care of their employees, and taking also technology and taking the old and a traditional thing and combining it with technology. And they solved the homelessness of their generation and made it this beautiful city. I mean, inspired the city and the business leaders to do it by leading by example. That's a story that inspires me, and when you think the problems we're facing are insurmountable, well, you look at the past and people surmounted their similar problems in their generations. We can do it again.
We want to thank all of you for joining us. I'm going to come up against the top of the hour, so my desire to share another story, I'm not sure how I could in a reasonable time frame. I will say that some of the greatest media I've ever seen in my life has been made recently. The House of David on Prime has been incredible. I watched the last episode 5 or 6 times. The Chosen has been incredible. What a cool picture of Jesus of Nazareth as a human. And not just religious-based things. There's been so many cool stories that have been told lately. And I have thoroughly enjoyed using my sight and my hearing. So very graced by it. All of you are graced as well. We'll be back again tomorrow. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
All right, Internet. Our show is done, but we'll hang out and chat with you guys for a moment. Let me put everyone's camera on. So, hey friends, any thoughts? Grab that mic, this one, if you want to say anything to the end before we wrap it up. You got any thoughts, Danny, for the internet party people before we wrap up?
Oh, I love the internet party people. They're after my own heart there. Yeah, we're working out some bugs, and we're getting ready to actually start harmonizing on our instruments here. So pretty soon we'll find a smooth symphony going on. But I just wanted to say that we appreciate all listeners. We wouldn't be here if there was no one here. We would probably just go hang out down at the beach and talk to ourselves down there. So remembering that you are really the backbone of what we're doing. That the greatest things to happen day to day. So we want to leave you with an inspired message of encouragement and love.
And so I have something to say too. I have a story in the movie. I've been playing ping pong with my grandson outside, since he's been a young boy. You know, he can hardly hit the ball over the table. So we've been teaching for years. But he has a great game. He has beat me. Most of the time I get the W, but the day is coming when he's going to just be putting me down. And I'm going to get a long story, and we have so much fun just laughing at each other. And
It's so much fun.
going on. What do you think?
I mean, it reminds me like you have to put work into something to make it amazing. Like when I was as the young age I was when we first started doing that, you had to like put the time in to get me to learn how to play ping
And
pong.
then you got inspired.
I know, and then now to see it be so much of a joy for us. Like we
Go
have
for it.
such a blast every time that we play. It's so amazing. Like
And we
It's
have
one of
our
the-
own little unique
We
things that
do, we do,
and
yeah,
and
we
just
do.
practice, right?
every time the score gets to 10-4, we always scream 10-0 now. Or if it gets to 10-2, 10-0 minute. And it's just so fun. I just love the little things that we do. Oh, thank you for mentioning that.
Yeah, just teasing each other.
Yeah.
It's a laugh. And it's good to tease and laugh. You know, that's what
It's so
friendship's
good.
all about too.
Yeah.
And that we're just developing that. So, there
Thank
you
you.
go.
That made me really happy.
Nigel, what are your thoughts, my friend, as we wrap up? Anything you want to say to the internet before we go?
Be nice to someone today. You know, we have these moments where we get to sit and share and chat, and I think we need more of them. You know, just thinking about the fact that we're talking about technology, but we're still in a space where we're just talking and we're just sharing stories. And I can see the elation on your dad's face and your son's face, and it's just that's a beautiful thing that I'm not sure as many people in this generation get the experience because the world has changed somewhat. So I am grateful for those moments more than anything else. And I'd just say, like, again, just be nice to someone today. Because no one needs to be here. No one owes you anything. And I think the more we embrace that sentiment, the better off we're going to be. Take time to think about the stuff that you have that's wonderful in your life, because there always is something. And yeah.
That there's no doubt. Ted, any final thoughts before we wrap up this live stream?
Stories are better with Guinness beer. Maybe. Boy, that's a controversial. I'm rethinking that because I'm kind of cutting down my alcohol intake because I don't think it's as healthy as I used to pretend it was. But anyways.
Alcohol is definitely in big trouble in American society. It's not the cool thing to do like it used to be. It seems as though things like psychedelics have taken over alcohol.
There you go.
Or exercise, breathing. Breathing is the new
Exercise.
buzz. Well, everyone on the internet, thanks for jumping in and joining us. The format of this show, Beachside Tech Talk, is we're here live in the radio station here in Santa Cruz County. It happens to be on the sand right here on the Pacific Ocean, which is why Beachside Tech Talk. This week, I recruited my 5 co-hosts. We got Ted coming in from Silicon Valley, Nigel coming in from the East Coast over there in Florida. Got my son Malachi behind me, my brother Dan, and my dad Gary. I might switch up some of the co-hosts from time to time. And we have Kristen, our amazing producer, here in the studio. We got Grim and Shao, our producers for the internet. And we're going to kind of find our way and be able to get a significant enough, audience and attention live and afterwards, where we can justify inviting people to come and sponsor and run some ads against it, and so that we can have a sustainable model and I can have a consistent co-host. We're going to do basically a 2-month trial. This is week 1. And then after this, we'll decide kind of how we want to move forward. So we definitely crave all of our spontaneous ideas, but we crave your feedback. We need to know what we're doing and enjoy. We need to know what we're doing, like when I grab the camera and move it all around, make it move like Don't do that. That's not awesome. Or when I accidentally mute Ted, not because he's talking too much, but just because I got the number off, and he's over there yapping on the internet, and the people on the radio don't hear him.
Yapping? No, he's
Yip yap.
wising.
Okay, fine. He's yip yap wising.
Yeah.
I like gratitude, Malachi. That's how you do it. You bring in the honor and respect. I like that. Everyone on the internet, we'll be back again tomorrow, and that'll be the end of our first week, and then we're going to be coming in and out over the course of the next couple months. And next week is important for Malachi and I. We fly out to Manila, Philippines, have my 7th Philippine Blockchain Week, which is a big event for all of Southeast Asia for blockchain and AI. And then in a couple weeks, we all go out to New York. At one point, we sold 18,500 tickets for our event, NYC. We take over all the Times Square billboards. All of you, Malachi, Nigel, Ted, Danny, all of you have been with me there multiple times. And so we're going for that. That'll be our 8th event there. And so, yeah, I've been trying to teach the world my perspective of all things AI, blockchain, and otherwise, and the importance of these different things working together. And it's amazing to see how the communities have developed over time and how much I've learned. Because when I started running events in these industries, I had no idea what I was doing, which is why I started events. I figured I could bring the smartest people in the world around me, and they could tell me what the heck was going to be happening, what was going on, so that my team could build some products for the future, which we believe we've done. Until next time, goodbye, everybody.